I really use that first back to school activity about me in a very cultivated way. So I will be like, your name and your birthday. That gives me insight. Do they celebrate their birthday? Culturally, is it a big value, the birthday? Are there presents involved, and what kind of presents? And then you can get to know their personality with their favorites and have that in the back of your mind because later on, when you need those incentives, you know their favorite color. So you can pull out that Play Doh, or you know their favorite toy or game or show, and you can use that as a theme.
Hey there, and welcome to the Speechy Side Up podcast. My name is Vanita Litvack, and I am so grateful you're here. I'm an ASHA certified speech language pathologist, author, and augmentative and alternative communication consultant who is obsessed with helping SLPs like you stop reinventing the wheel and connect with other SLPs in the trenches. Have you ever wondered how other SLPs seem to be doing it all with ease? Well, around here, you'll get to hear firsthand how SLPs are really getting things done while keeping evidence-based practice and self-care in mind. Think of this as a coffee date with your SLP friends. Get ready to be challenged and encouraged while we learn together. Today, I'm joined by Melissa Oliva, a compassionate and dedicated speech language pathologist. Melissa is committed to making a positive difference in the lives of children and families. With 20 years of experience working with children of all ages and backgrounds, she holds state licenses to practice in Florida and Tennessee, as well as a certificate of clinical competence from ASHA. She is passionate about cultivating relationships with families and caregivers, believing in the importance of a team approach to build the foundations of communication and achieve the best possible quality of life. She owns a newly opened private practice, Fundamental Speech Therapy, located in Nashville, Tennessee, where she works with clients in their natural environments. Melissa, thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And any part of being intertwined with a friend's reference.
Amazing. So, does that cover everything, or is there anything else you want to add before we jump into our topics?
That's the gist. It's a lot.
Okay. Yeah. So, what is your background? Like, what made you interested in this field?
I was a young child who would line up her dolls and read to them and teach them. And I was obsessed with my elementary school teachers and the smell of freshly sharpened pencils and just the whole gamut of learning. And so I went to school as a teacher and I went back to my original elementary school and I was able to teach alongside those teachers. It was an amazing experience. It was also a Title I school. So a lot of learning happened very quickly with me as far as small groups, RTI, data monitoring, understanding how we are going to target this and the individual student, and then the visits from the district and showing the research and showing the data. And little did I know that I can make an even bigger impact using those same skills working with one child or working with a small group. So when I was thinking about going back to school and what would be the most fulfilling to me, I turned to speech language pathology.
Did you have anybody that inspired you?
So those mentors saw how much I really dove into those individual instruction moments and how I loved just looking at progress and watching data and figuring out each individual student and what their needs were and how I would be a little bit protective when they would go into their next school year. And so they kind of led me towards that, which is so interesting and
Yeah, I feel like there's
maternal
always
of them.
somebody that, yeah, that shapes you a little bit or provides
Yeah.
some input. So that's great. How can an SLP gain the trust of teachers and parents?
It's so important, and besides the fact of it being an IEP meeting hack, because if you have that, your meeting will go so much more smoothly. It's interesting because I was reading a study, it's caregivers' perceptions of SLPs, and the caregivers equated the quality of the experience with the quality of the information. So the first thing is that communication piece, and it's not just the progress reports that are quarterly or that annual once a year meeting. It's throughout. And it has to be convenient. So the best way is if you have consent, those videos through text within the session. Look, this is what he did. This is our list. This is this activity. Oh, let me type you a follow-up email to what happened in our session. And I think you can do this sequence first, next, then, because he's got it up to 3 at home with chores or setting up the dinner table. And that those little pieces of communication, I'll see them in the IEP meeting and they'll zero in on me right away. Oh yeah, Miss Oliva, speech language pathologist, we were working on this and it's just so beneficial and it's heartwarming too because that's where you see the most progress. So communication for sure, looking at the child as a whole, and we already know that we need to provide culturally responsive services. So how do you do that? You just come into school, you maybe know the general population, but each student is an individual. So I really use that first back to school activity about me in a very cultivated way. So I will be like, your name and your birthday. That gives me insight. Do they celebrate their birthday? Culturally, is it a big value, the birthday? Are there presents involved, and what kind of presents? And then you can get to know their personality with their favorites and have that in the back of your mind because later on, when you need those incentives, you know their favorite color. So you can pull out that Play Doh or you know their favorite toy or game or show, and you can use that as a theme. And they don't remember that they told you that on their first week of therapy, but you've brought in the fun. So using that gives you that insight into them, and then the teachers really appreciate that you're not just coming in and leaving. You're coming in and you're putting time and value into their student. Because I know as a teacher in the past, I value each and every student. I'm with them all day, and so are they. So I want them to know that I see that child as an individual too. The role of the SLP. We need to work in partnership, and that's the whole point. So I make sure to acknowledge those collaborators. OT, thank you for letting me know that that wobble chair works. Can I borrow it? Or PT, you have that trampoline. I just need it for like a break card. Can I use it? Thank you, parents, for telling me, "Hey, I'm concerned that they're not doing well in spelling. I know you're working on speech, but I see that these are problems." Those acknowledgments of how they're participating and I can help in my role, I feel like really pulls them in, and that trust and that relationship can be garnered.
Those are awesome tips. And I know coming from your background, you have that unique perspective of both sides of like how to build trust and also build a relationship with teachers. So thank you for sharing those.
Yeah.
How could SLPs find the right balance between functional goals and academic goals?
So when you think about the functional, you think about, all right, my therapy activities, I want to make them cute and fun. And then you think about the academic, okay, well, I have to fill out this IEP plan and I have to make sure that I'm putting those present levels in. Those goals need to match to the standards, not just the results of the assessment. So we know that the assessment needs to be dynamic, but we do need that standard score. So not just taking the results of, okay, he didn't master this or he didn't demonstrate understanding of this goal, but I also have to have those state standards aligned because at the end of the day my educational impact statement needs to be relative. And when I'm there with the special education teacher and the parents and I'm filling out that draft, I need to make sure that it's all relevant and it all comes together. So that's tough for us because we, as SLPs, look at just their daily life and how they function in their world. And then school is so taxing for them. Those expectations are so hard, and sometimes the gap is so big. So, how can we balance that? All right. Soon as you know what the goals are expected at the grade level, you need to execute them in a way that makes sense. So, what I do is I think about my 30-minute time with the bookends. The bookends are that pickup and that drop off. The functional part of that is what are they doing when I pick them up? How does their desk look? Are they paying attention? Where are they sitting in front of the class? When I drop them off, do they know what class they're going to next? All of that is great information for creating functional goals too. And then within the session, each part, speech, language, fluency, you need to take in what the school has. So for speech, of course, we want to use those core and fringe words, the words that they're going to use all the time. Their grade level, how many grade levels have that R in it? The dreaded R, their teacher's name, their friend's name. Those should be on the list of words we're targeting in speech because those are the words that we're learning. There's a function. The grade level text. Now I'm bringing in that educational impact. What are his vocabulary words for the week or the spelling words from the week? Balancing those, having both of those. For language, it's not just looking at a sentence. Okay, how can we grammatically fix this sentence? No, bring me your journal. Let's read what you wrote. Let's look at your math work. What are the vocabulary words that are actually dictating whether you add or subtract? Do they know that? That's the vocabulary that we need to work on. For classifying words or word association goals, science, history, let's categorize those words. Bring your textbook. So I really try to use what's there. And again, it fosters that relationship because the teacher sees me doing that and really appreciates that because it's going to help them. I hope it does. And then pragmatics, as pragmatic skills, I just work on sabotaging everything. I mean, oh, I picked you up a minute late. Meanwhile, I'm standing outside the door listening. Or, oh, we only have one chair. What are we gonna do? Oh, I'm having a bad day. That's my pragmatics, friends. But yeah, that's the way that I look at it. Just bringing them both together as much as I can.
Those are great examples, and I love the gentle sabotage, and I don't even love the word sabotage, but
Yeah.
creating communication opportunities throughout the day. You're making it different than it's not as a routine, from day to
Yes.
day.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I can see how certain kids respond better to that or don't respond well to that. Maybe autistic students might have trouble without those transitions, but if it's like an artic kiddo or executive function or something like that, then maybe it would work better.
Definitely. And with, let's say, spatial goals, when we're working on following directions in the classroom and where to put things in their cubby and inside, on top, under. And I was
Mm.
talking about using those bookends. So let's say at the end of the session, he's able to play with putty. Well, we're playing with putty while we're walking you back to class, but we're also going to, in a functional way, target your spatial concepts because we're going to bounce it. And where does it end up? Under the book bag next to the door, on top of the shelf. So he's thinking we're playing, but we're actually taking those regular academic goals that we did in the session, and then I'm bringing it into life.
That's such a great example. Yeah, it really requires you to think on your feet, but it's so functional when you can do that. So, how can an SLP make the most out of group sessions?
Yeah, group sessions is a tough one. Sometimes you don't have any control over the grade level mix, definitely not the goal mix. So when I think of group sessions, I think about lead the show and delegate. Lead the show and delegate. Everybody knows what their goal is and what the expectation is. We come in, you're working on this. I want to hear this from you and on this all the time. But this also goes into that experience that I had pulling those small groups while also managing a whole classroom. So I think that helped me so much in managing the small group dynamic. But I love to capitalize on those personality traits. So in a perfect world, you've got the leader and you've got the helper and you've got the cheerleader. And once the group's dynamics settle in, you can pick out who is who and really praise them and lift them. So I'll pick a theme and I'll use a template for my group session. So it will be a book, a craft, and a game for that week. we've got that topic and they're already excited. What are we doing this week? Is it Shark Week? Is it Garden Week? What are we doing? So for speech, I've already looked at the book. It's a lot of planning, but it'll just make life easier. And once you've done it a few times, you've already have your little kit. So for speech, we've gone through the words. Here's your word list. You're going to be reading or labeling or using those in a sentence. Language, here's our book. You're going to be asking some WH questions. There's your visual there for WH questions. Fluency, you're going to be answering the questions using your speech strategies. And then pragmatics, remember we talked about turn taking, letting other people take their turn. And then at the end, when we play the game, then, they've already kind of know what they're supposed to be doing. And then it's my pragmatics friend that's going to have the toughest time with the game day. But we've worked together on this topic, and now is his or her time to shine, hopefully.
Giving everybody roles, like identifying the strengths within the group and then giving them roles so that you make the most out of it. I think that's awesome. Such a
And
great
it's
tip.
yeah, and it's tapping into them again as a whole person.
Yeah, that's awesome. Melissa, this has been amazing. I'm sure people are going to want to connect with you and learn more. Where can they find you?
So the website's fundamentalspeechtherapy.com. You can also always email me, hello@fundamentalspeechtherapy.com. I do have an Instagram. I think it's Fundamental Speech Therapy TN for Tennessee. But any of those ways can surely reach me. There's a Facebook page as well. And any SLPs that are in the schools and have any questions or just want to reach out about anything I said, or how can they manage a group, or some ideas for some ways to talk to some of these collaborators and get them together with you, I'm here for you.
Amazing. Thank you so much again. And I look forward to following on your journey.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. By the way, have you joined the SSU crew yet? By joining, you get access to the free goods section on our website, plus podcast updates, special event notifications, and therapy inspiration. You can sign up at bit.ly/join SSU crew, all lowercase, or just find the link in this episode description. Also, don't forget to take a screenshot of this episode so that you can always refer back to it, and share it on social media if you really love the topic. Take care, and remember to always fill your speechy side cup first before you can pour into others.